What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we wanted to share with you 5 of the biggest cues we give our athletes when we are trying to develop their speed. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. We post new videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays, so make sure you're subscribed to catch all of them. Hope you guys enjoy it. So one thing that I do want to start off this video by saying is most of the athletes we train are for intermittent sports, right? So soccer, basketball, football, lacrosse, like sports like that, where it's not strict track. We have a couple who do track and cross country, but for the sake of this video, it's more towards the intermittent sports. And the reason for that is we're not gonna be able to get into those perfect track positions in a sport like soccer, for example, right? I'm a soccer player, so it's my realm pretty much. And when we're playing soccer, we're not gonna be able to fully lean, fully drive, because a lot of what we do, number one, the ball's at our feet, right? So it's gonna be really hard when we have the ball at our feet to get in those positions. Or if we take basketball, for example, right? We have a ball in our hand when we're dribbling. So we're not really gonna be able to use both as much, but we still need that quickness. We still need that burst of speed, especially if the ball's far away, right? Let's say soccer, you and an opponent are trying to sprint there. So it is very important we train the ability to be fast. However, I did want to preface this by saying we're not going for, crazy like track perfect mechanics, anything like that. So first things first, the very first cue, actually this is not in any particular order, but the very first cue we're gonna talk about is having a good lean. So this is something that's important. I just said that it's not gonna be as perfect as track. However, when I'm talking about a lean, a lot of people come in when they start sprinting and they go right here. So they bend at the waist, which means they're not leaning that way. So this is a very important thing to fix with any athlete, right? I don't want you trying to sprint right here. We need to engage the hips. We need to get that positive lean, because when I'm trying to go forward, I need everything to be taking me forward. Especially for intermittent sports, it's all about acceleration. How fast can you get from point A to point B? And it's usually not crazy far, right? Usually we're not gonna be into that max top speed. So it's all about how well we can accelerate. So if I'm trying to get from here to here, I have to drive myself forward. So it's all about the horizontal force production. So the better my lean, the better I'm able to produce force into the ground and drive myself forward. So that's one major thing that I like to tell my athletes, right? Get that good lean. I don't need crazy, but get your hips through, really punch it into the ground. Number 2, it's going to be get your knees higher than hip height. So when it comes to this one, I tell my athletes this just so they have it in their head to get their knees up. However, if they're not breaking their hip height, I could take it or leave it. Like I said at the start, with soccer players, it's really hard for us to always get our knees perfectly high when we're playing soccer, especially if we're trying to run with the ball, right? So when it comes to breaking hip height, I just want athletes to have it in their head to bring their foot up to then strike it down. Because the bigger we can get this angle to strike, the more force we go into the ground with, right? What's more, if I'm just one of these little stupid things, or like boom, right? Every time. It's just about how high I can get it, the momentum that I can take into the ground. So that is a big thing we do, right? We work on just driving the knee. When they're sprinting, get your hips up, break that hip plane. The best sprinters in the world, right? Especially off the start, they got boom, that perfect hip or that perfect knee height above the hip. It allows you to drive so much more force into the ground. So that's the second cue that I always give our athletes. Number 3, kind of playing on getting the knee up, it's going to be getting the toe to the top of the shoe and out in front of your knee. So this is kind of a 2-parter. So the first one, what was the first thing I said? Oh yeah, getting the toe up. Oh man, so many athletes, when they're running, they have their foot like flooped, right? So they're sprinting, they let their toe floop, all those things. That is not what you want. It's so much more efficient if my toes to the top of my shoe so I can strike down on the ball of my foot versus being here, just letting it hang and then having to move it as I get closer, right? So we train that from the start. Toe up, get it here, get yourself in a good position. It's so much faster being here versus having to adjust. People start running weird all the time. So the second part to this is getting your toe beyond your knee. You'll see this, I'm gonna call out Franny because she used to do this. When she takes off sprinting, right, a lot of people go right here. So they go heel to butt. This is really good when it comes to top speed, right? We want that efficient cycle. So heel to butt fast is really good. But when we're talking intermittent sports, about your ability to accelerate in small bursts, we don't want this because it's not gonna allow us to go forward as fast as we can, right? We want more of this, the low heel recovery driving us forward versus popping us up. It's gonna be so much faster going here to here versus here to here, right? We're not gonna get that same punch, we're not gonna get that same drive. So I always tell them, right, get your toe beyond your knee. This is another one that's kind of hard for some athletes, being able to get into that position other than track. But as long as we're not trying to accelerate like this, then I'm happy. As long as we can go in that direction where we're punching, I tell them, hey, pretend you have glass in front of you. And every time you're trying to drive through and punch through, that usually helps solve the problem of toe up, toe out, and getting your knee up. All right, number 4, I tell the athletes, drive your foot straight back into the ground, right? So from this position, kind of like a piston, we drive it straight back. It allows this motion, everything driving into the ground to shoot us out in the opposite direction to produce horizontal forces. So when it comes to this, a big thing as well is having a stiff ankle, okay? So if we look at a bouncy ball, for example, right? If we throw it on the ground, that thing is gonna spring up because it's stiff and it stores elastic energy. We need our body to be similar, right? So with our tendons, we can store elastic energy. So if I have a stiff ankle and when I drive my foot straight back into the ground, think of it as that bouncy ball, right? It's just gonna boom, spring up. And as the more force I can drive in, right, as I drive it straight back down, it's gonna spring me forward. So it makes it almost more effortless for us. So we don't want to be here. We don't want to be reaching in front of us. We don't want it to be too far behind us, right? We want to straight back down, driving in. So everything is taking us here, and that is gonna help with your lean as well, right? If it's far in front of us, then we're popping up. But if I can get a good lean, and if I can drive it straight back down, right? It's a lot about foot placement when it comes to good sprint form, keeping that ankle stiff as well. So we're not flooping anywhere, we're not letting any energy go. Make your sprints easier for yourself by doing these things to keep your ankle stiff. Last one, this one's just like quintessential sprinting. Have good arms. I know a lot of times with intermittent sports, like if we're talking basketball, you have a ball in your hand. If we're talking soccer, you might be fighting with someone as you're sprinting. However, that's no excuse. We need good arms, especially if we don't have any of those external things. If you're just sprinting, just trying to get to from point A to point B, right? So many people have terrible arms when they sprint. Our body, like, we use them as cross levers to help us sprint. So I'm here, right? If I can throw my arms, my legs will follow. My arms will drive my legs. So I want to be cheek to cheek, right? We want to be moving through that shoulder joint. We need to have our arms be strong so they can help take us where we need to go. This is a very simple one that a lot of people mess up, right? We see a lot of right here. So when I start to move my arms this way, my torso follows, which means I'm not going straight, right? So we don't want any of this. We don't want the elbow flaring. We don't want to be driving through our elbows, right? A lot of people run like this, not moving their shoulders at all. So it's these little things that will add up, that will definitely make a huge difference when it comes to your speed. So hopefully these things help. 5 cues we give our athletes. Like I said, we're not going for track superstar unless we're training a track superstar, but it is important that we can, do what we can to help our speed. So these are some things we like to do. Hopefully it helps. Please subscribe, please like, comment what you want to see, and we'll catch you in the next one.